In 1980, Jamaica was on fire. Nearly 850 people had just been killed in one of the bloodiest election campaigns in the nation's history. The economy was collapsing. Jobs were vanishing. People were fleeing. And into that chaos stepped one man, Edward Seaga. He didn't just win. He took 51 of 60 seats in Parliament, the biggest landslide Jamaica had ever seen. But what he did next would change Jamaica forever. And that's why, to save Jamaica, he had to tear it apart. Because what came next was both bold and brutal. The country he inherited. When Seaga took office in October 1980, Jamaica was broken. The economy had shrunk by more than 20% in 6 years. Unemployment was 27%. Debt was sky high, and inflation was out of control. He inherited a nation in free fall, and he believed there was only one way out: scrap socialism and embrace free markets. So, he cut ties with Cuba, aligned with Reagan's America, and turned to the IMF and World Bank. But that's when the real struggle began. Because in trying to save the country, Edward Seaga would also unleash policies that made life even harder for a time. Thousands of Jamaicans lost their jobs. Nurses were laid off. Real wages plummeted. Yet in the same breath, he launched the program that would go on to train nearly 500,000 Jamaicans, the Heart Trust. So, was he a builder or a breaker? Let's look at what he built and what it cost. The 12 big moves. Number 1. The Heart Trust. Seaga's flagship program, launched in 1982, aimed to tackle youth unemployment with hands-on training in tourism, construction, garment making, and data entry. Funded by a levy on companies, Heart empowered tens of thousands of school leavers, giving them the skills and hope. Number 2. Structural adjustment programs. These IMF-mandated reforms demanded cuts in public spending, devaluation of the dollar, and privatization of public entities. Seaga saw them as necessary surgery. Critics saw them as economic trauma. Up to 18,000 workers were laid off. Hundreds of nurses vanished. Social services collapsed. Number 3. The Food Stamp Program. To soften the blow, Seaga produced food stamps in 1984, targeting the elderly, pregnant women, and children. At one point, 848,000 Jamaicans were receiving assistance, especially after Hurricane Gilbert struck in 1988. Number 4. Agro 21, a bold agricultural push aimed to put 270,000 acres into production and introduce new export crops. While some projects, like bananas and aquaculture, succeeded, others flopped due to floods, poor competitiveness, and even scandal. Agro 21 failed. Number 5. Golden Age Home. After 150 elderly women died in a 1980 fire at the Eventide home, Seaga responded by building a new modern home for the aged. It was a symbol of dignity, built during a time of economic crisis. Number 6. The National Development Bank. Designed to finance tourism, mining, and agro-industry projects, this bank was part of Seaga's strategy to modernize the financial system and push economic diversification. Number 7. The Agricultural Credit Bank. It was created to help farmers get access to credit, especially small and medium-sized ones. But it struggled to make an impact amid rising import competition and post-Gilbert devastation. Number 8. Jampro, then JNIP. This is Seaga's one-stop shop for investors. It brought billions in proposals, gave rise to new garment factories, and helped revive tourism. But not every investor stayed, and many questioned whether the overall economy was ready for them. Number 9. the Urban Development Corporation, UDC. It led massive state-led projects that transformed Kingston's waterfront, built cruise ship piers, and laid the groundwork for Negril as a resort town. But critics said the state was still too dominant in tourism. Number 10. Comprehensive tax reform. Seaga slashed the top income tax rate from 60% to 33.3%. Compliance improved. A future was laid for GCT and the TRN. It was one of the few reforms widely accepted by the public. Number 11. The 100 Village Program. A grassroots project where communities were developed through craft, sports, and culture. Over 5,000 villagers gained employment, but the program faded as political priorities shifted. Number 12. Metropolitan Parks and Markets, MPM. This was established to clean up cities and manage public spaces. Kingston, in particular, saw dramatic improvements, but garbage and urban decay would remain long-term challenges. The crossroads, tension between vision and reality. Here's where it gets complicated. Many of Seaga institutions, like Hart and Jampro, survived him. They worked. They still do. But others, like Agro 21, collapsed under their own weight or were ruined by floods, mismanagement, or bad timing. And then came Hurricane Gilbert. In 1988, Gilbert tore across Jamaica, flattening farms, homes, and infrastructure. It caused over $700 million in damage. 500,000 people were displaced. And just like that, the fragile gains of the 1980s were washed away. Even then, Seaga mobilized. 70,000 people were put to work in cleanup. Emergency food stamps reached nearly 850,000 people. Foreign aid poured in, but it wasn't enough to turn the tide. Legacy and fallout. By 1989, Seaga was voted out, but his policies were not. The PNP returned to power, but instead of reversing course, they adopted Seaga's market-friendly approach. Even Michael Manley, even P.J. Patterson, even Portia Simpson Miller. Love him or hate him, Edward Seaga set the compass. His policies, his institutions, and his ideology shaped the Jamaica we know today. Some say he mashed up the country, others say he rescued it. But either way, you cannot talk about modern Jamaica without talking about Edward Seaga. 4 bonus facts. Fact 1. Israel's kibbutz training model partly inspired Hart. Seaga wanted a national service model that included technical training. Fact 2. Seaga personally chaired the Agro 21 committee. Few prime ministers get that deep into program management. Fact 3. The TRN was Seaga's idea, but it took 14 years to implement fully. Introduced in the 80s, it wasn't rolled out until 1996. Fact 4. He predicted the rise of Negril before it became Jamaica's top resort town. The UDC land banking made it possible. Edward Seaga governed in hard times. He made hard choices. Some worked, some didn't. But he reshaped the Jamaican state from the ground up and compelled the country to consider what kind of economy it wanted. Now, it's your turn. Was Edward Seaga Jamaica's boldest visionary, or did the price of his vision fall too heavily on the people? Let's talk in the comments, and if this story moved you, please subscribe to our channel, Impacting Jamaica, for more powerful Jamaican stories like this one.